Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Victoria Cadaver podcast. Yay! Today we're going to be talking about depression. And depression, what it means for me. How have I experienced depression, and how am I coping with that? It's been a journey. I first noticed that I was depressed probably when I was about 7 years old. I don't know what happened, but I started noticing that, hey, things have not been going very well for me. Why do I feel like this? Like I knew I felt different, and I know I felt just a change, and I don't know what that change was, but it was something else, something I don't know if I can even describe. After a while, I kind of just brushed it off, and I was like, okay, well, maybe everybody else feels this way, and I'm just taking it differently. So after 7, and then I finished the 3rd grade. I think I was in the 3rd grade when I was 7, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so I moved on to the 4th and 5th grade. In the 4th grade, my mom got into a wreck with me and my siblings inside the car, and that was a really traumatic experience for me. I kind of looked like gloomy after a while. I was like, wow, like what if I died, like what would happen? Just all these negative thoughts and stuff. But then I went to go live with other family, and they kind of helped me through it because I wasn't feeling alone anymore, and I didn't feel like I had to keep everything inside, bottled up. So that made me feel great. And then after that, I went back to living with my mom. It was middle school, and middle school is already tough, as many of you guys already know. Middle school is a tough time because you're just barely figuring out what kind of person you are, if anything, really. Figuring out what do you actually like and what do you don't like. For me, it was a tough time at home because my mom was dealing with her mental issues and illnesses, and I understand that. But I also, again, underwent some really traumatic things happening at home, and it was awful. It was emotionally draining for me, and I was starting to get those really dark thoughts about like, wow, like why am I here if this is all it's gonna be, and this is not life, I hope this isn't real. And I really just wanted somewhere to go, and this is really hard for me to say, but I was contemplating suicide. I was only 12 and I was already thinking about suicide. I don't ever want to feel that way again, because I know that it was wrong of me, so to say, to be thinking of that way, but I didn't know how else to feel. I was feeling like I was losing my mind because I underwent all this kind of abuse, and it was terrible. For a while, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know who I could talk to because I didn't trust anybody anymore, because I thought they're all the same. Everybody's just gonna tell you that you're crazy, or tell you that, no, you really don't feel this way when you do feel this way. It was very difficult for me to process. I got into some trouble when I started to cut myself. The school counselor found out. It was very difficult for me to admit that I was contemplating suicide. And then from there, problems just started for me. And I don't know if I was doing the right thing by admitting that yes, I was suicidal, or if I created more problems for myself. Because then my mom got angry because my mom was my abuser, and she got angry at me because she thought it was extremely selfish of me to want to commit suicide. And she said that I wasn't making it up, and that it was because of my friends, and that I had friends who was doing this, and it was just social pressure. And I said, Mom, I don't have any friends. It was sad. I mean, I didn't really have friends. I had maybe 1 or 2 people that I talked to sometimes, only because we had the same classes, but I never really had many friends, ever. And for her to tell me that I was making it up, that I was just being dramatic, that she was making fun of me for feeling the way that I felt, I just thought, okay, no one's gonna take me seriously anymore. And I had to live with that. I had to live with the fact that I was second guessing my own emotions because my mom told me that I wasn't feeling this way, that this is just me being dramatic. I had to really think about myself and second guessing myself and telling myself, do I really feel this way, or am I really just being dramatic? It wasn't drama, it was my real emotions. I didn't want to feel this way, but I did, and I couldn't do anything about it because I couldn't talk to anybody. And the therapy came, counseling, the medication. The counseling, it didn't do anything for me. It didn't help me. It was me and this lady, and she was sitting there, and I was sitting there, and it was awkward, and I really didn't want to talk to anybody at all. I really wish she would have asked me, what are you feeling? How are your emotions reacting? I wish she would have done the typical therapeutic thing, or whatever, typical therapist thing, where they ask you, so how was your childhood? Because that would have helped me. I would have just spilled the beans on that one. I would have just went off and on and on and on and on and on. And then maybe those therapy sessions would have gone somewhere, but they didn't because she never asked me that. Both literally sat there for entire sessions not saying anything. So I felt like my time was wasted with that. However, I talked to my doctor, and it was one of those times where my mom just dropped me off at the doctor's office, and I was like, okay, because I was starting to learn how to do that stuff by myself. I was talking to my doctor, and my doctor prescribed me some medicine, some antidepressants. First, we started out at a really low dose, so we started out with that, and I had some allergic reaction to that, which was weird because it was like very rare. So we switched medications, and I tried this other thing of medication for a while, and it kind of worked for me. And then I felt like the dose was too low because it was kind of working, but at the same time it kind of wasn't. So we doubled the dose. And now it's actually feel like it's really working for me now, which is good because I actually found something that can help me. And what I found out was that while I was going to counseling, I was actually diagnosed clinically with chronic depression. I have depression year-round, but sometimes it just gets worse during the winter season. I live with that day to day, and sometimes lately, actually, it's been getting really hard because it's around the winter season, so it's been getting really, really difficult to focus and really difficult to want to be social with people and talk. But I've been trying to figure it out, get through this. And for me, what works right now is my medication. I just don't feel like, unless it's with a friend, I don't really feel like talking does all that good for me because I've been through so much. So it would take a long time for me to talk about everything that's happened to me, and I feel like I couldn't really put into words that have happened. Another thing that I've been noticing is that my memory has been really, really bad, and I have a really difficult time remembering things. I've been having a hard time like trying to put together words. Like, if you notice that sometimes I pause and I think about the words I'm trying to use because I have a hard time thinking ahead, thinking about words and stuff like that, or I don't remember what a word means and stuff. And it's really hard for me because sometimes I'll just be sitting there and I'll have all these different memories that I didn't know I remembered, that I forgot I had. And it's not like I can just sit there and retrieve a memory and be like, oh yeah, I remember this time. Yeah, I remember this time. No, it takes me days to remember something. And sometimes I'll forget that I'm trying to remember something. And it's been very difficult for me to live with that because it really gets in my way. It got in my way a lot in school, and I couldn't remember assignments. I couldn't remember if I had written things down. So writing things down wasn't an option for me because I would forget that I was writing things down. But now that I'm not in high school, I find myself having more time to really do some soul searching and figure out who I am and different things that have happened to me and what my emotions are and stuff. And I found that just talking to myself, even though it sounds crazy, just talking to myself feels better. Like, I'm talking to you guys right now, but in the room where I'm sitting, I am talking to myself, and I think it just feels good. But I don't consider myself crazy for talking to myself. I think it's very therapeutic for me, actually, to hear these words spoken out loud, even if it's just to no one or if it's just to a microphone. I'm here, and this is what I chose to do, so I feel like it's helping me. So yeah, or how I've been coping really is listening to a lot of music. Like, sometimes I just need to I'll cry, and I'll cry and I don't know why I'm crying, or I'll have flashbacks. And I was also diagnosed with PTSD, so I regularly have flashbacks to living with my mom, who was my abuser. And sometimes I sit there and I think, and it takes me a while because I'm so out of it. It's like I'm not even living in the real world. It's like I was just like floating, and I'm just looking at different images in my life and different violent memories that I forgot. And then I start to cry. But then I put my headphones in and I just listen to some music, calm down, and take a few breaths, and I feel better. Sometimes it takes me all day. Sometimes it takes me 10 minutes. Sometimes I can just stop crying. For me, music has been a big thing that's helped me. So if you guys are ever going through anything, just try to find that right playlist, try to find that right song, put it on repeat if you have to, take a few breaths and think, I'm here for a reason, and maybe things aren't going to be this way tomorrow. Maybe things can change in 5 years. Just know that you can be whatever kind of person you want to be, and no matter what anybody else tells you, you are responsible for you, and you can really create what kind of future you have, and just be you. And I know it sounds cheesy, I know it sounds incredibly tacky, but you are your only friend. You are your only enemy also. And I find that very true for myself. If this episode has been very depressing for you guys, I am so sorry. But I spoke my mind, and this was everything that was on my mind that I could remember. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Victoria Cadaver Show. And I wish you guys all have a good day. Thank you very much. Goodbye.